Welcome back to Red and Blue. I'm Ed O'Keefe.
And I'm Caitlin Huey-Burns. President Biden will have plenty to discuss tonight during his State of the Union address, including the country's economic future and what the Democratic vision is going forward. Earlier today, we were joined by Democratic Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal of Washington State's 7th District. Congresswoman, thank you so much for joining us. Let's start with the speech tonight. What do you want to hear from the president?
Well, I'm really excited to be with you. I'm very excited to hear the president brag. I think he's got a lot of accomplishments to talk about, things that under his leadership he put forward at the beginning of the 2 years, and things that we delivered. We have a strong economy given the circumstances of what we were coming out of, but 517,000 jobs created just in the last month, unemployment down to the lowest level in over half a century, 10 million new jobs created over the last 2 years. And we're making things in America again. We're bringing hope to places across the country that have seen jobs go and are now seeing them come back. We're giving hope to young people with the biggest investment in climate change. So I expect that he's going to talk about all those things. I also think he's going to paint a vision for the rest of the agenda. Universal child care, investments in housing. These are some of the biggest inflationary costs that people are dealing with. And I think they want to know, what is the plan? These are big parts of the president's agenda that we have yet to achieve. And so I'm looking forward to hearing him talk about that as well.
But on the economy, in our polling just out today, that's what Americans want to hear about. But a majority of them think that Biden's policies are contributing to a worsening economy and high inflation. We also had 62% of people in our poll saying that the country is divided. What is leading to that? If the economy is looking good on paper, as you say, it's clear that Americans are just not feeling it.
Yeah, I think it takes a while for some of these things to trickle all the way down, and I think the reality is people are coming out of a really tough several years. I mean, the COVID crisis was an emergency. It was the biggest economic crisis that we've seen since the Great Depression, and it was tough on people. I think what the president has done, what Democrats have delivered, is we've brought people up. We've given some breathing room, but does it mean that we're all done and everybody feels great? No. I also think that some of this legislation will take some time to roll out. So, you know, we capped insulin at $35 for seniors. Not everybody has actually felt that yet. We've capped the cost of prescription drugs. Some of that doesn't roll out until later this year. So there are a number of things I think that people will continue to feel. It's our job to do both the work of letting people know what we've done, but also recognizing that we're not done. We have a lot more that we have to accomplish. And in that, I think we're going to hear the president talk about police accountability with Tyree Nichols' parents in the room, Michael Brown's parents in the room. I think we're going to hear him talk about the attacks on trans youth. I'm the mom of a trans kid, and I know how painful that has been to hear from the other side. And I think we're going to hear him talk about the need to codify abortion rights. So these are all big projects, but we are making progress. We can make progress, and there's a very clear contrast between Democrats and Republicans.
You're going to start trying to implement these new projects and see through the other ones with a new chief of staff in place. And you guys in your Progressive Caucus are losing one of your biggest allies and interlocutors over at the West Wing with Ron Klain, expected to leave this week. Remind us, why was he so essential for you and for the Progressive Caucus? What do you know about Jeff Zients? What concerns might there be about whether he's going to be just as good an ally?
Well, Ron's terrific. I just spoke to him last night. It was probably my last call, sad to say, in his official capacity. But Ron was so terrific for a couple of reasons. One, he completely understands what the president wants to achieve. Two, he understood that progressives are some of the president's biggest friends on achieving these things. And three, he really saw kind of the power of the Progressive Caucus in being able to hold the line for the president's agenda, being able to move progressives as a group when we didn't get everything we wanted, but we got a lot. And so I think he really respected the strength and the power, and he himself is a progressive. And I think he really believes, as the president does, in all of these policies. I don't know Jeff as well, but I didn't know Ron when we started, and I count him as a friend now. I hope that that same relationship of respect for progressives and for the base, particularly leading up to an election year again, is going to be there from Jeff. But as as Ron said to me, Jeff is there to implement the president's agenda. The president's agenda has not changed. It is still the most progressive agenda that I've seen from a president in recent history, and I believe that the president's going to continue to respect the strength and the power of progressives.
You are head of the Progressive Caucus, one of the largest bloc of House Democrats. But one of the things we're going to hear a lot from the president tonight is about unity.
Yeah.
Elements of what he calls his unity agenda, issues that he believes Democrats and Republicans can and should be working together on.
Yeah.
As a Democrat in Congress, is there something you are or you want to work with Republicans on specifically? And is there somebody you've met maybe in the new class of Republicans who you're like, I could work with that person?
I think there's a couple of things, and it all depends on what this Republican Party ends up being, but I would say antitrust is a place that the president has done enormous work. We have done enormous work. I was the vice chair of the antitrust subcommittee, and we had a bipartisan vote on a package of 6 bills, and a lot of agreement around that, and agreement in the Senate as well. So I think that's one area. A second, which will be harder, but I am very committed to working on, is the issue of immigration. I'm going to be the ranking member on the immigration subcommittee, and I believe that there are some Republicans who understand that the real answer here is to have a humane immigration system that continues to uphold the values of our country. And so while I know that's not the direction the leadership has gone, I am hoping that maybe we can find some places where we can clearly agree and we have bipartisan support, like the farm workers bill, the dreamers bill. These are things that the majority of Americans agree on. Let's get some of these things done. Let's give some hope to immigrants who hold up our country every single day and deserve to be acknowledged for that.
Anyone in particular, any Republican in particular that you feel like you could work with on that?
Well, Congressman Gonzalez has said many things that are encouraging. Congresswoman Salazar obviously also is another one that said some good things. I think that there's a handful that perhaps we could work with on some bills that did get bipartisan support in the last Congress. So let's see, I have talked to my chair of the subcommittee, Congressman McClintock. We have committed to sit down with each other. We want to see if there are places, even if it's a very narrow section of the Venn diagram, if you will, where we can agree. But let's find some of those things. You never know what can get done unless you explore it.
And a lot of people, I think, are looking at this speech as potentially the case for Biden's re-election. Do you want him to run again?
I do want him to run. I said that about a month ago, and everybody seemed very surprised because I was a Bernie Sanders person. Bernie and Elizabeth are my two, I think they've done amazing work for our party and for the country. But I think this president deserves another shot at another 4 years. He has really delivered in a way that is extraordinary. And I understand that not everybody sees this yet, but the transition from Reaganomics to Bidenomics, the belief that we can raise revenue on the wealthiest and put those savings into lifting people up with things like universal child care and all of the things we've done, strong industrial policy, antitrust enforcement. This is a president that has accomplished so much in such a short period of time. Probably the most difficult time in our country in recent history. And he really represents both stability and progress versus chaos from Republicans. He should run again.
An interesting binary choice there you present. As that campaign rolls along, please come back and see us again, Congresswoman Jayapal.
I'd love to.
Washington
Thank you
State.
so much.
Thank you for stopping by.
Thank you.